Shalom Rastafari. And you know, basically the point that is being made with the whole Guerilla Hebrew issue, because it is not really to carry any false type of anger, but let's get the education and let's get the information straight, so that, because we are told, you know, we're told in all of the so-called Israelite brothers, you know, who claim they believe in the black Jesus Christus, Jesus Christ, and this is concerning mainly them, because this is really what this is about. This is the basically almost the only stronghold that makes them partly Israel. You know, like the verse says, Israel is blindness in part has happened to Israel until the fullness of the Gentiles be come in. And so we actually get to see this. The reason we get to see this is because there's many of our brothers and sisters who are not necessarily black, or, you know, even mixed in that sense. And they have held to the faith of Israel. They have held to the faith of QEDAMAWI, HAILE, SELASSIE, the King of Kings, and his son, Jesus Christ, the Jesus Christus. They walk righteous in Rastafari. You see what I'm saying? They walk righteous as Israel, though there's a blindness in part that happened in Israel until the fullness of the Gentiles be come in. Now, what we were speaking about, this one right here, now we thought this was interesting because we were looking at the prophecy this week, and this is, I believe this is one of the prophecies fulfilled this week. And then also the Phinehas, you know, the Phinehas and the whole Moabite situation. And if you really know the truth about that story, you will be able to grasp what's really been happening. You know what I'm saying? And we give thanks, and you know, call into the discipleship radio. Let the eye go ahead and get that number. You should call into the discipleship radio, brothers and sisters. You know, every day of the week, and I think the only day there's really not a broadcast is Sunday. You know what I mean? It's really the only day there's really not a broadcast. Though, you know, tune into the discipleship radio so you can get the root of the information and basically what we are speaking on. Now, the point that's being made here is that really it doesn't matter whether one is light skin or dark skin. You see what I'm saying? Because there's over 50 shades of brown. You know what I'm saying? Those 50 shades of brown. And we already know that Israel is not necessarily pertaining to one's being light skinned and dark skinned. We already know that that's not true, because you got dark skinned tribes who are evil and against the covenant. And then you got other tribes, you know, people, light skinned tribes who are evil and then become against the covenant. Though the point that's being made is that when you speak on a child of Christ, you know, one such as Selassie, Bob Marley, for example, and then you bring out this, you know what I mean? Because honestly, the information and the studies and the education you bring in, they really are half-cocked. I noticed that when y'all was speaking about the Maccabees period, and Garfield, he kind of skipped over. He said he kind of really, you know, I think Garfield was saying he didn't really believe any of the, you know, that whole story concerning, you know, the Jews and all that, when he was using 70 AD. And that was something smart that this, you know, this one brother right here did, you know, the one that's speaking about Bob Marley, which you were really out of line on that part, man, because, you know, you're not exactly full black yourself, you know, obviously, you know, and that in itself starts a lot of controversy. Another thing is calling the Gentile, you can call the evil Gentiles. You know what I'm saying? Their spiritual ways are parasitic. Yeah, that is true. And that makes them naturally go do evil things like the Amori, you know how it said in Genesis 15, that just know, and speaking on that, there's a certain way that you speak on that. You know what I mean? Now, if you speak on it from a point where you just carrying a bunch of hatred and you spewing out, you know, you just spewing out whatever, you know what I'm saying? Or you saying it in a way that you think it feels good to you. Because I noticed that many a times when you brothers be speaking, you be speaking on these things in a way which you think it feels, you know, just like you said, well, I think Israel culturally assimilated. And I got to that part where y'all was speaking about the Maccabees and all that. And I like the point that the Guerilla Hebrew brother brought up when he was speaking about during the time of Maccabees, and he took Garfield back to when it first happened with the Maccabees, which was like around like 200 and something BC, I believe. It was either between the 50s or the 280 BC, something like that. You know what I mean? And that was like almost 500 years, I think, before, or even it was even longer than that. It was almost like 400. I know it was like 400 years because, you know, if you calculate and you've been in the education of the Torah and stuff like that, you begin to understand that some of these captivities have a range between the place of like 400-year captivities. Those are the long ones. You know what I mean? And the situation with the Maccabees, when that situation happened, you know, and then again with Jerusalem in 70 AD, we get all the way to 70 AD where Vespasian and Tacitus said that the Jews were the Ethiopians. You know what I'm saying? The Jews were the Ethiopians. And at that time, which is different from now, you know what I mean? According to the style of the time, there was a certain style where the Ethiopian Jews, the Ethiopian Hebrews, the black peoples were ruling in a more a dominant, controlled way. So when you're saying some of the stuff that you're talking about now with the diaspora being scattered throughout the world and have totally lost that type of rulership. In fact, it was given over to what we call, you know what I'm saying, sometime in the spiritual sense, what we call Jezreel, which is those, you know, who gathered for the covenant of Yahweh when his true children forsake it. Now, another thing is that obviously, you know, when we speak about Bob Marley, when you're talking about Bob Marley, you coming for the kingdom now of Christ, because what Bob Marley spoke about, he prophesied about the kingdom of Christ. And then the second advent of Christ in his kingly character, QEDAMAWI, HAILE Selassie, the conquering line of the tribe of Judah, Revelation 5:5. And I said that wrong in the last video. I said Psalm 84:7. We have to go see what that's saying, because maybe the Spirit's gotta try to say something, throwing something in there though. But the psalm that we were really meant to say was Psalm 87:4. For those who are familiar with it, it's Psalm 87:4. We had kind of said it wrong on the last video. Now, a prophecy that we seen this week, because this brother right here, his name is, and we usually don't use the term brother with ones who are against the kingdom. Though considerably what you did with Bob Marley in this video, as I said, beware of those who curse the soul of Barhane Selassie, the light of the Trinity. Now, what you basically had did in this vid, when you did that and you was talking about, you know, his dad being white and all that, and his mother now comes to question, what are your roots? I would like to know, you know, who your mother and your father is and everything. The reason why, because I found that offensive. Just like Sarnetta did. Sarnetta also found that offensive, that you would say that Bob Marley was not an Israelite. You know, even though he was a true child of the covenant who professed the Father and the Son, Bob Marley was not part of Israelite. Concerning the gospel of Christ, being that y'all diss the Father Christ, QEDAMAWI, HAILE Selassie, or that you diss Rastafari, it will make you part blind. So all we asking you to do is go look over the research, brothers, because it doesn't really do us any good to be fighting with each other anyway if we really truly are Israel. You know what I'm saying? The main point that we can agree on is that Jesus Christos is, at least we can agree on the fact that Jesus Christos is a black man, and we already are being fought on that part. We don't need these, disintegrated groups, brother. You know, we don't need these suspended groups in these areas where we are blocked off from doing what really needs to be done and getting the proper help that we need. You know what I'm saying? And to be able to live in peace in the land. Now, something that you should understand is that, you know, like the angel Michael and the angels, they threw Ha-Satan down, right? The angel Michael and them, they threw Ha-Satan down. So that means he fell down from the higher minded, those on the master level of fruition, on the higher level. He fell down from there and came down to the children of dust. Be careful, because now when they see this disintegration, you know what I mean? And they could quickly try to pull certain things. We already know that because they're already doing it. And by you speaking down on a child of Christ and such a powerful pillar of you know what I'm saying, such a powerful pillar of the kingdom age of Christ, Selassie, Bob Marley. You know what I mean? To speak down on someone like that, bro, it's like it's like you going after the kingdom. Is like, yo, you crushing yourself. You asking for the lightning, the fire, the thunder, and the brimstone. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Like I said, that blindness in part happened in Israel until the fullness of the Gentiles be come. So we pray, you know, in the mercy of High Elohim, because remember, we all been found as you know, as the verse says, hey, we all been have counted as unbelief at some point in time. You know what I mean? But for the sake of the gospel, there's a hatred there. There's a hatred there because we know that's falsifying the gospel when you speak down on Bob Marley that way. You know what I mean? And then concerning the Father. Now, the rule in Jew law, if you know anything about the rule in Jew law, and this is high spiritual law because, you know, Torah is my lawgiver, you know what I mean? My schoolmaster, you know what I'm saying? Forsake not the law of thy mother. Now, his mother was a black woman, in the rule of law in spiritual Judaism, in the Kabbalah system. If your mother's a Jew, then you are a Jew. Another thing is that he is a black father, so now his children have an inheritance there. You see what I'm saying? His children have an inheritance there. And that whole thing about Bob Marley's dad and his mother and all that, we don't even know the whole we don't even know the whole story on that. All we know is that Bob is so dark that he doesn't even look mixed. He doesn't look mixed. Come on, man. You look more mixed than Bob Marley, brother. You look more mixed than Bob Marley. And that was the point that we were making, you know what I'm saying? Because that doesn't matter. And look at the one behind you even. Let's see if we can, you know, what about this brother, man? He almost don't look you know, black at all. You know what I'm saying? What about that? Because these points don't really matter, man. You know what I'm saying? These points don't really matter as long as we know Amos 9 and 7. Aren't you as the children of the Ethiopians to me, O Israel? Isn't Israel of the faith of the original black faith? Wasn't Israel brought here to the north country so the Gentiles could see the light? You know, so they can see what Abba Father had punished us, and then we went into captivity and slavery, like it says in Deuteronomy, right? In Deuteronomy chapter 68, right? 28 verse 68. Is that right? You know, or is it chapter 15 verse 68? Is that it? It's chapter 15 verse 68 and 28 through 68, where all the curses began, right? But the first 14 were blessings if you would listen or if you would do right. So this whole thing about you know, the whole Esau being a white man thing is really when you study the language and you find out what the Kai really is. You know what I mean? And the connection with the Father Aduma and the ruddy red man, the dark. You'll find out that Esau was actually dark skinned, bro. Esau was actually a dark skinned black man. He was also very hairy though. You know what I'm saying? He was a hairy brother, but he was very dark skinned. Yaakov was probably a little bit more light skinned, though he wasn't hairy. He was smooth. And this is the explanation of it when it talks about the two nations that both will come two nations fighting within you, right? It's because this is what we begin to understand, and there's a lot to break down in that. Look at the 10 northern tribes who were against Benjamin and Judah, and Benjamin and Judah held to the original concepts of Christ, which were out of the southern lands. And even Jesus Christos, he had even checked the Samaritan woman on that. Remember, he was like, y'all know not what y'all worship, for salvation is of the Yehuda, the Judaic priesthood, the rooted Judaic priesthood. Then that takes us back to Amos 9 and 7. Aren't you as the children of the Ethiopians to me? Then it takes us to King Solomon and the Queen of Sheba and her only son Menelik. And all the way to who? The King of Kings. For David would never lack a man to sit on the throne. The King of Kings, QEDAMAWI, HAILE, SELASSIE, the last king to sit on the throne of David, the Father Christ himself, God himself, brother. You know what I'm saying? So let us check ourselves and our information. We need to get our information together. And by the way, even if you don't, man, and what I'm saying and everything like that, it doesn't help us, bro, to be fighting each other, man. It don't help us. if anything, we should be able to agree in Israel. You got to the Africa part. You know, it's good that you brothers have got to the Africa part. You got other Israelites who don't even get to the Africa part. Some brothers deny the New Testament. And I think those things are, you know, they're not considerate. They're inconsiderable. And then you have the other Jews, the white Jews. You have the good ones of them who are watching us over here, and then they see you brothers, and like it says in the book of Acts, it becomes like with the Paul and Barnabas situation dealing with the Gentiles. They get discouraged because they see you brothers over here, you know, calling them parasites and all these other things. And those things, if they're accurate with the evil Amori, the evil merchants, the evil businessmen, you know what I'm saying? Because when you get to the root of that, that's an evil spirit. For even Jesus Christ said that all that call on my name shall be saved. All of Israel is not necessarily concerning the physical race. It's a spirituality. Abraham and his seed, you know, like Galatians chapter 2. It specifies that. That's why it goes into the part where it says that, don't you know that none of you at this point, once you are remain in the full truth, once you get the full spectrum, you're not Jew, nor Gentile, nor Greek, no, you're not even man, nor woman, but you are one, ahad. Because your education level, you know what I mean? You come to the level of fruition. You become to a master's level. Though that may not be for everyone. So if you feel like your doctrine is over I doctrine, Rastafari, we should at least be able to come to the common ground, Israel, that there is a part relationship. You know what I'm saying? There is a part kind of, I want to say connection. There you go. We have a part connection of agreeableness, and that is the one that y'all call these different, I'm not going to go into that, but we say Jesus Christos, Yeshua HaMashiach, Jesus Christ is a black man. That one part right there, we should be able to move forward to the next levels. You know, for the nations that are going to arm us or help us, you know what I'm saying, and give us the victuals and the things that we need so that we can go and serve our God in the wilderness. And we can get over into Africa and we can get the Gentiles to give us what we need and everything like that, because that was the process of becoming who we are. And even if you don't believe in the truth of the story, you can see that the King of Kings and all of the journeys and all of the works that the King of Kings did at his high level, brother, all over the world, even over here, the Babylon USA, just like we said in Jeremiah 29:10, was the prophecy of the King of Kings, Rastafari. You know what I'm saying? So now if we go over here and we look at, so yeah, again, there's another question. I would like to know your bloodline, though. I really would, and not from a perspective trying to embarrass nobody. It's because you brought up that about Brother Selassie, and that was kind of that was wrong, man. You know what I mean? I would like to know your bloodline. I would like to know your bloodline. Brothers really shouldn't be listening to you anymore unless you can show who your mother and father is and their bloodline and where they from and everything, so we can see what's in your blood, man. Since you did that to Brother Selassie, and the man's not even living he's not even living anymore to defend himself. We have to come to the defense of our elder. You know what I'm saying? Of our late elder. You know what I'm saying? Our elder who's he's passed on now to the next. You know what I mean? And give thanks for his works, because he provided that way that people will be able to see Christ in his kingly character, the King of Kings. QEDAMAWI Selassie. So please, we would like to know, what is your bloodline, brother? Who is your mother and your father? What are they? What are their race? And we want to know these things now, because since you talk so bad about Brother Selassie, the things you said was very, even Sinetta let you know it was wrong. It was rude. You know what I mean? And it was really offensive, man. It was really offensive to say that he's not an Israel. You're going to say Israel is more pertaining to those who are main, those who believe, those who are main. Now, if you look at, if we look at the Torah portion, at this point for Nehas, right? And then we over here, we are looking at the part about Elijah. When Elijah, he Jezebel. Now, we want you to kind of see if you can see this, don't see if you don't deny. Now, there's a verse that we saw kind of fit the time right now of what's going on. and some of the other slanders and lies against his imperial majesty. Now remember that this brother's name is Sakari, right? Sakari, Guerilla Hebrew Sakari, right? That's the brother's name. So, or you know, it's very interesting because that more sound like the way you talking in his doctrine is more really concerning the northern tribe belief. You know, you don't believe in the original or the rooted. And if you feel like yours is the rooted, then, you know, even still, we should still be able to find a common ground to at least agree on in some place, since we say, okay, well, Jesus Christ is a black man. And then you've gotten over there to Africa, give thanks for that, because, you know, some brothers haven't reached that point and they learn and experience, like you said, hey, if you there, you there. Some brothers is there. We feel like you are on the lower level. You know, that's how we feel. We feel like, hey, you on the lower level from what we learned in our education. You way down there. You know what I'm saying? Way down. Especially still calling Esau a white man. That's not even scientific. You know what I mean? Even concerning the Bible, it's not. You know, it's not. You know what I'm saying? Yahweh Ha-Elohim, the Lord never said anything about Esau being a white man. There's nowhere in the Bible where it says Esau was a white man. Now, we know about Esau and the kingdoms of the Edomites coming out of Esau, and the women who he was marrying weren't Israelites. They weren't of Isaac and Rebekah's bloodline from Abraham. You know what I'm saying? Jacob was sent over there to them. In fact, you know, when you check the story and you do it completely and you get to understand, Esau probably would have been with because it was Raquel and Leah, right? Esau would have been with Leah, and Jacob would have been with Raquel. But check this out. This is interesting about Esau. This is one of the main things that you should understand about Esau. Esau found his original inheritance to be insignificant. He forsook it. You know what I'm saying? Now, what we saying is that when you speak down on Burhan and Selassie by Marley, that is like that's the same as almost bringing up a slander on the land. You know what I'm saying? That's like bringing up a slander on the land. We'll go there in a second. Though the verse that we were pointing at was in this Torah portion. It's in the Haftarah. In the Haftarah of this Torah portion for Nehas concerning Elijah. When Jezebel had, you know, she told Elijah she was going to kill him. Now, there's a part that we noticed, and it was concerning what we seen in the prophecy in this week, and looking at the brother with Elijah, because we noticed that, and if you speak down on Burhan and Selassie, you must not have anything good to say about the King of Kings, QEDAMAWI, Haile Selassie, neither. You know, I'm assuming, right? And you probably don't, you know what I mean? So, since we feel like you on that lower level, and if you there, you know, just like you told Brother Garfield, hey, if you on that level and you think that's okay, if you on that level and you think that, cool, I guess that's where you at, you know what I mean? But blindness in part, you know what I mean? Until the fullness of what? The Gentiles come in, you know what I mean? So when you see that prospering and all that, and you see that growing, and you see that getting ready to come out, you know, let us come together. You know what I'm saying, brother? Maybe then you'll see it and we'll get to come together. Again, this is not to take a hit at the brother, but though it was offensive what you said about Burhan and Selassie. Imagine somebody saying that about your brother. Or you know what I mean? Your brother that's then who is pronounced the light of the Trinity. You know, him bringing in, you know, showing us the kingdom age, bringing in that the music and instruments, the Levites, the players of the music and instruments, bringing forth that prophecy of the King of Kings Christ. For someone to come and try to ish on that, you know what I'm saying? Nah, man. You know, that's what we call fire burn, you know? That's almost like a vexation. That's like a Moabite tactic almost, you know what I mean? Though you partly be Israel to us, you know what I'm saying? So, let's look over our information. Let's show the information we got. Y'all reading just the Hebrew. We reading the Hebrew, the Amharic, the ancient Ethiopic. You know, many of languages resulting in the root of the truth of the whole situation and not denying it. Now here, this is interesting. That what Yahweh told Elijah when he told him that Jezebel You know what I'm saying? Because Jezebel is that, you know, that fornicative, what's that, you know what I mean? That is that bad feminine spirit, man. You know what I mean? That bad feminine spirit, you know what I mean? Adulterous and evil and in many ways. You know what I mean? Fornicative, you know what I'm saying? It's a bad spirit. Now, when we look here and it says in 1 Kings 19:14 says, and he said, I have been very jealous for the Yahweh, Ha-Elohim, Tzebaoth, because the children of Israel have forsaken thy covenant, thrown down thy altars and slain the prophets with the sword, right? Because that's basically, you know, speaking down, talking down on the prophets, right? And I only am left, and they seek my life to take it, Rastafari. Huh? So now here, and the Yahweh said to him, go return on thy way to the wilderness of Damascus. Okay? Y'all like in this spiritual, you know what I'm saying? In this spiritual way you carrying yourself like the wilderness of Damascus. And when thou comest, check this out, anoint Hazael, king over Syria. You know what I'm saying? What's his brother's name? Guerilla Hebrew Sakari. You see what I'm saying? Now, he obviously is the, you know what I mean? One of them brothers that's heading them northern tribes there. You see what I'm saying? And maybe we will at some point be able to find a common agreement. Now, prophecy, let's move forward. Let's see what the rest of the prophet. And Jehu, now, Jehu is, Yahweh is he, right? Yahweh is he, the son of Nimshi, shalt thou anoint king over Israel. And Elijah, the son of Shaphat of Abel Meholah, shalt thou anoint prophet in thy room. So Elijah was found to be the prophet in the room of Elijah, Barhane Selassie. You know what I'm saying? In that sense, that Elijah in that sense. You see what I'm saying? Barhane Selassie. So again, you know, we just ask the brothers, hey, strengthen up, check out some of the research, check out the Ethiopian book of Jubilee, check out the Ethiopian book of Enoch. Don't have a hatred and say, hey, man, we don't want to check out the doctrine. We'll check out the same doctrine that you brothers bring. Just like, you know, when the brother Garfield, you know, and I don't want to call him, sometimes we can't use the word brother, because some of the things that are said are so offensive, they're not even brothers at that point. That's why it says they're hated for the sake of the gospel, but for the sake of the election, they're beloved. You know what I'm saying? Because all have been counted at some point in disbelief. Ha-Elohim, by the mercy of Ha-Elohim, we pray that you brothers will, you know what I mean? That we'll all be able to come together. You know what I'm saying? That we'll be able to find some common form of unity. You know what I'm saying? But, you know, bring forth your evidence as far as that. And again, as we said, the evidence is already debunked already. We already know Rastafari is the revelation of Christ. You know, it's the revelation of the kingdom age of the, you know, coming out of the bondage or the captivity of Israel, because like it says in Genesis 15, that just know your children will be captive in the land by the Amori, the Amorite, and the Ethiopians already have named the Amorites. We already know the Amorite was, you know, considerably the blue-haired, blonde, the blonde-haired, blue-eyed tribe and everything like that, which is a signification of who was ruling at the time. It does not necessarily rule out the other Gentiles who have faith in the truth of Israel and they want to do their part to try to help, you know what I'm saying, the kingdom of Ha-Elohim flourish. Jah bless them, you know what I'm saying? That's why it says until the fullness of the, y'all's blindness until the fullness of the Gentiles come in. Now, being that Ha-Satan was thrown down by Michael and them, he went down to what? The earthly man, the earthly type thinkers, those who wasn't a, so the fullness of the Gentile, the iniquity of the Amorite. You see the iniquity of the Amorite? There goes that iniquity. You gotta show between the two. You talked about the parasitical part of the evil white man, but now you have to speak about the good part of the good white man, the good Gentiles. You see what I'm saying? That's what the gospel was all about. Because not everyone was evil, and not everyone was good. And then Israel at time was partly both. And then we look at Revelation, it says, I know you are lukewarm. Get yourself together. I will spew you out. Imagine going to the land like that. Imagine going to the land and the land spewing you out, and what you thought you knew was correct. And then you come to find out, oh, I've been vexing myself. Shalom.